Now, for more on this, I talked to Chip Jacobs. He's an expert on air pollution and co-author of the new book, The People's Republic of Chemicals. And I started by asking him the economic reasons behind China's smog problem.
It was really less about smokestacks and more about a globalized economic culture that values low-wage manufacturing. That is what took air pollution from being a minor problem in China to a major crisis.
Winter is coming. The pollution is there again. People are saying that's
Right.
earlier than normal. Therefore, I
Right.
think it's fair to assume it just gets worse and worse. I mean, there's no end in sight in this, right?
There's not. Winters are the worst time for air pollution in places like China for two reasons, really. It's a coal-dependent country. Roughly 70% of its energy still comes from coal, despite valiant efforts to wean off of that. The other issue is winds tend to die down, especially along the eastern populated coast of China in winter. The breezes that blow normally from Inner Mongolia and would push the aerial crud out to sea, well, they just weaken and at some points vanish.
Let's talk about the solutions. The government has tried to make some solutions to try to move some of the coal factories farther away, to maybe try to use green energy, to try to use what they call cleaner coal, although that's
Yes.
arguable if it's really cleaner. Any of these
Yes.
things in your mind work?
I think everybody is going to have to attack the 800-pound elephant in the room from different directions. The problem is so severe, and middle-class expectations for better quality of life are so high, there is not really a simple solution. If China is still building coal plants at a feverish pace.
Look, I'm going to try to paint a slightly brighter picture, because you're sitting in Los Angeles, which was once, if I recall, one of the most polluted places in America. Now, California took a number of steps from the state level, and the city level took a number of steps. And look behind you now. It's pretty clear. I mean, I don't think a lot of people would have guessed that 20 years ago, right?
Perhaps not. But you also have to remember, smog hit Los Angeles during the midway point of World War II. And it took us really 2 generations to get it beat back to the point where it wasn't harassing people on a fairly regular basis. China is, in a way, it's doing everything right. It's trying to get off coal. It's trying to reduce energy intensity per production unit. It's restricting driving, etc. A tree hugger would be euphoric at their list. However, economics still are prioritized ahead. And, you know, when you look at their plan, a 5-year, $250 billion approximate plan to clean up the air, that's really less than half of China's economic stimulus during the Great Recession the world went into a few years ago. So I think what needs to happen is patience, a willingness to go after any sacred cow in China's system, and less of a top-down government telling people what it's going to be like doctrine, and more trying to get them actively involved and engaged. That's actually what helped Los Angeles beat its smog monster. When people accepted they're going to have to be taxed more, the freeways are not always free, and every day in their life they're going to have to do a little something if they want their kids breathing healthy air.
You look at the efforts that are being made now in terms of like moving these factories. I mean, you flat out stated that growth is causing the problem of smog, and I get the relationship there, but it can't be a zero-sum game, because you can't have like no growth at all and then you have a different set of problems on the other side. Where's the healthy balance?
That's the trillion-dollar question. Actually, in the mid-2000s, China tried to develop something called the green GDP. And this was Hu Jintao's initiative to calculate the cost of clean air. And they found out what they were doing, where GDP was their driving force in their existence. It was taking 3 to 4% of the GDP away. So I think there's just going to have to be a realization that the growth rate is going to have to slow some as they transition to cleaner energy sources, and accept people will be okay with that. And not be plugging every electronic device into every outlet they can. It is going to have to, it's going to take some tolerance, and it's going to have to take people being maybe a little less consumeristic in China. In other words, acting less like Americans.
Some very candid comments. Thank you very much.